Hello, everybody. This is Debbie McDonald. I'm here with Relay USA and the wonderful Ashley McCauley and her husband, Alex. Thank y'all for joining us today. They are graciously joining us so we can interview them as both caregiver and survivor. Ashley, we're going to start with you. How old were you when you were diagnosed, and what kind of cancer did you have?
Thanks, Debbie. We're so glad to be here with you today. My story with cancer, my experience, my journey with cancer started just after my 22nd birthday. I was a senior in college at the University of Southern California, and it was right around Thanksgiving. And I had actually traveled to enjoy Thanksgiving with my mom and her family. So we were staying in a hotel room, and I was getting dressed for Thanksgiving dinner that morning when I stood in front of the mirror, and I was wearing a spaghetti strap top. And I could see that this side over here was a lot bigger than this side over here. And it was very puzzling because at the time I really didn't feel like I had any symptoms of anything. It didn't hurt. I couldn't feel anything in there, not really. So it was very puzzling. And my mother encouraged me to go to the health center on campus and get it checked out when I got back. And I did. And long story short, I was diagnosed with something called Burkitt's lymphoma, which is a very, very aggressive type of cancer. It doubles every 24 hours. And the fact that I actually caught it as early as I did was a big part in the outcome of being diagnosed with cancer at 22.
Wow. So, Alex, how did you come into the picture? You and Ashley were already dating at that time?
We were. We had been dating for more than a year. At that point, almost 2 years. We were coming up on the next year would be our second 2 years dating. And yeah, I think we were probably more concerned about senioritis than cancer at that point. We were very interested in having fun with our friends and studying. We were both pretty good students, although she probably would debate about how often I went to class. But it really came out of left field, but I did go with her to the USC Norris Cancer Center in downtown Los Angeles. We took the bus, went down there, and I remember going with you, and because you had been recommended by the campus to go there for a biopsy, and you went into the back room, and I was there for you, and it didn't quite hit me at that point in time that our entire life is going to change, because it's a cancer hospital, and not every other person, but most of the people you see walking around, they're undergoing treatment for cancer, and there is a sense of the dangers and risks and the mortality of it that you probably wasn't at the forefront of my mind when we were just going there for a consultation. And she came out, and I said, "Is everything okay?" And she was like, "Hmm," and didn't say anything. And then I was like, "Okay, well, that must mean okay." So we got on the bus, and she's staring out the window, and she just kind of whispers to me, "I have cancer." And I didn't know what to think other than we were going to get through it together. I remember once it started coming out that she obviously for a certain amount of time you're just processing it yourselves. So the two of us we weren't really sharing that information with people, and that circle of friends that knew got bigger and bigger to the point where it was campus wide, and all the friends and family was obviously very shocking. But I don't know where I was going with that thought.
Yes, we were dating, and yes. He was the first person other than myself to know that I had been diagnosed.
Well, that's what
cancer.
I was thinking. Is like most of the friends and family, as they knew, a lot of them were like supportive of me. They're like, "Oh, well," I remember some of your friends being like, "Well, I'm so proud of you, or I'm so, you're so supportive of Ashley, or this, or that. And at that time, I didn't feel like there was really any other way of living my life than to be as supportive as I could for her. There was never any question in my mind that we were going to get through it. It was certainly very scary. There was some very scary moments.
So how long did it take? How long were your treatments, Ashley? And I'm sure they were very aggressive.
They were very aggressive. And first of all, I think when I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd heard of cancer. I'd had family members, maybe aunts and uncles, who had had cancer and had survived and had treatments and things, but I didn't really know what cancer was. And I think especially in the cancer fighting community, we talk about cancer, and it's really an umbrella of terms for basically when cells in the body just divide out of control. And there are a lot of factors that can go into why that happens. And mine was just so shocking at 22 with no risk factors. And to this day, they still don't know why I got cancer. So it was a big, you get overloaded, I mean, emotionally, just facing the diagnosis. And then it's an education in science and like biochemistry and all this stuff. And so what we found out was that because the cancer is so aggressive, the treatments also had to be very, very aggressive. So I actually was scheduled for a surgery simply for a biopsy. They needed to stage the cancer. But it was over the holidays, and there was some miscommunication with the facilities, and I had gone home to Atlanta to try to enjoy the Christmas holiday. And so I got a call confirming my surgery, and it was a Monday morning, the first day back at class, my last, my semester of my senior year. And I told them, I remember calling them and saying, I can't have surgery. I have to be in class because that's the kind of person I am. And they said, the surgeon himself called me. They said, you don't understand how serious this is. This is your life. School can wait. And if we need to talk to any professors or some dean or something, just let us know. And so it was very awkward emailing professors that I'd never met saying, hi, I'm not going to be in class because I'm going to have surgery for cancer. So we staged it, and that's how they found out. I really was very lucky that we found it as early as we did, which made the treatments have a very good prognosis. And so it looked good, but then you actually had to go through it. So went through, I forget how many months it ended up being, 2 to 3 months of basically chemo, and it was inpatient 3 days, and then you would come every week for outpatient infusions of just about, and I keep the printout, I have it up here on my wall. My oncologist printed off a sheet of paper to show me all the different medications and all the different chemos and other things that I was going to be on. And it was one thing.
They're nuking you is what hers. I wouldn't give this to anyone other than a 22-year-old, because you're as healthy as they coming into She harped on that a lot. Like we're giving you the maximum that is allowed for everything.
Kit and caboodle, the whole 9 yards.
Because of how
and they even added, it was a lot, and then they added to it. And what they added to it was a type of immunotherapy called rituximab, and which is actually fascinating because lo and behold, years later, I didn't know this at the time, but come to find out, the American Cancer Society actually funded the initial research that brought that drug to market. And many people, I'm sure listening to the survivors, may have even heard of that or some other types of immunotherapy. And that also played a really big part in my survival. So it was gruesome. I lost all my hair. I had all the GI symptoms. I had that chemo brain fog. I have some funny stories about that.
ICU?
I lost my immune system. And this is another thing you learn. You go, well, you always took your immune system for granted. You get a cold, you recover, all this kind of thing. And something, of course, we've been talking about a lot, obviously, during the COVID pandemic, and this issue of folks who are immunocompromised. Well, I became immunocompromised, so much so that I didn't have enough of an immune system. Like when they looked at my blood, there were no white blood cells. There was nothing there. I could not survive a simple cold. And I ended up hospitalized and on all kinds of crazy antibiotics. I was the bubble girl. Nobody could come in unless they were.
We were practicing for the pandemic. We all had masks, and everyone was washing their hands
constantly, and you just had to wait for the body to recover enough to be able to fight. And I do remember that at the end of all of that, my doctor congratulated me and said, "You have you are cancer free and you have an immune system, and you can fight off even something like the flu, and you're going to be okay. And it really gave me that sense of all these things that I had just taken for granted my whole life.
Did you get to graduate that year?
I did. And
oh my gosh.
I know it's a little crazy because I often
That was probably more of a concern.
I was concerned for him. He's a genius, by the way. He has like 7 patents.
I was going to say, how many patents do we have now?
He's very capable, but he was, whereas I was the one who was reading the syllabus and sitting in the front of the class, making sure I was there for every class, he felt it wasn't as big of a deal.
Guidelines.
It was guidelines. So I call this the best of a worst situation, because I had actually arranged my schedule. I was really thinking I would be out doing job interviews and internships and filling up my time in other ways that senior semester. So I actually had a pretty easy semester class schedule, and had very understanding professors. And really all I needed to do was just to pass my last few classes, and I'd be able to walk with my major and minor, and I did. And I'm sorry, I wish I'd have gotten something to show you, but my graduation photos that we have, I have no hair. So
you can make sure to email those in, and they can be part of our slideshow.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'll have to do that. We'll send those in.
Yeah, so this is class of 2006. So it's quite some time has passed.
Yes.
And then, so how long after we graduated did we get married?
We knew that we wanted to be together.
But I think it's I think it convinced everyone else who maybe had doubts about me and your family about my commitment to you. I think that really cemented.
It really did.
Everyone's view of me personally, and what my commitment to you was.
Yeah.
And so we didn't get married until.
Well, I didn't want to get married until my hair grew out.
Yes, so she had a pixie
I had already
cut
had the graduation, with almost no hair, and I had the pixie cut going there for a while.
You were bald for, I think, 2007, the summer of 2007. We went back to your oncologist, and we're like, so what's the deal?
Yeah.
And that was when she finally said, you don't. If it was going to come back, it would have come back by now.
So we were living in some uncertainty there for a while, and so we did want to make sure that we weren't going to be facing, I don't know what. We were still, you're out of college and you're still figuring things out. But
I think recovery for the caregivers out there who know this or who don't know this and are about to find out, the treatment and the fire that you're in while you're going through that is difficult, but coming out of it is also very difficult for the person. Then mentally they have to, there's a whole lot of questioning and doubt. There's depression. There is, anxiety of it coming back. There's, trying to figure out what's really important to you, because you also have a sense of, you're, like I mentioned before, your mortality it's there. It's in front. It's been laid in front of you, and now you have to make a lot of key life decisions, not necessarily for the next day or week, but what are your plans going to look like for later in life? And so I think it was almost a blessing that we got that early in our lives as young people, because we certainly were on the same page together as to how we wanted to live our lives. I think that so we got married in 2008. So I think I proposed maybe shortly after that. I can't remember the exact date.
We did. We ended up getting married in September of 2008, and I had enough hair for a full updo. I was very proud. And our relay color that we chose was our wedding color, I should say. Our wedding color, the theme that we went with was relay purple.
Yay! So I know Ashley when she came out and spoke at our kickoff dinner, and only got to hear a minute of her story before I got pulled a different direction. And it took 3 turns of me hearing her complete story to get all of it. And the part of it then that ended up on the calendar for the month of November which if y'all can see, if you didn't get the calendar, you probably wish you did. Ashley, tell us about this, because this puts the icing on the cake with your entire story and your caregiver who's obviously going to be there to kiss your head for the rest of your entire life.
So what Debbie was showing you was our Voices of Hope calendar that was put together with the amazing relay daddy, Joe Gillette. And the theme was Once Upon a Relay, Once Upon a Story, and talking about the stories of survivors and caregivers. And I had this idea of being Sleeping Beauty because of one specific thing that happened while I was going through treatment. And then my Prince Charming was there to basically save me. So treatment was brutal. And it was so brutal in so many ways. And they're trying to fight the cancer with these harsh chemos, but then they're also trying to keep you comfortable enough that the side effects aren't so harsh. And one of the things that I was dealing with was insomnia. I could not sleep. And it wasn't so much that I was laying awake just worrying. It was just that physiologically, I could not sleep. And so they gave me sleeping pills to help me get some rest at night. I was also on a type of chemotherapy that is just basically poison called leucovorin. And leucovorin, you have to take an antidote to it to get it out of your system. So they want it to just fry those cancer cells, but then you have to get rid of it. And so they give you something called leucovorin rescue, which is these little pills that you have to take like 8 or something, 7 or 8 all at once on a schedule. And I was packing up my bags and I was going to go over and spend some time with Alex one evening. And I thought, you know what, I'm like 30 minutes away from when I need to be taking this. I'm just going to go ahead and take them now. And then once I get over there, I can relax and I don't have to worry about it and whatever. So I go ahead and I take my medicine, finish packing my bag, walk over to, we were living on the row at USC. I was in a sorority house and he was in a fraternity. Walked over to his fraternity house. And when he saw me,
I immediately recognized that something was wrong. You know, when you know somebody and you just look at their face, you're like, something's wrong.
And I felt fine. Matter of fact, I felt pretty good. Come to think of it.
So it was one of those situations, I'll just jump in here. So it was one of those situations where you immediately think something's wrong with someone. I'm sitting there with my roommate and we're just talking and I'm like, you know, what happened? And she had thankfully brought all the medications in her purse that she had. So I'm out there pouring out all the medications and counting them and knowing when she was giving them all and then trying to back calculate exactly how many she had taken of each of her medications, realizing you took the sleeping pills. You took 7 sleeping pills, not 7 of your leucovorin rescue. Like, all right, let's call the hospital. What do we do? And you know, it was there was some jokes there about her having to throw up in a fraternity house.
Just some, a little infusion of college humor, if anything. My mother was there.
We got her mom to come
One of my
over,
sorority sisters is there. One of his fraternity brothers. It was like a party to get me
to keep her awake,
to get that out of my system. And the thing is that if I had just done that and gone to bed in my room, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? And so I was trying to be Sleeping Beauty there and sleep for a century, and he woke me up.
Oh, and that's probably why I feel you guys are like our relay love story of the century. Just, you know, we need to honor our caregivers. We need to honor our survivors. Y'all coming and sharing your story with us just helps push that envelope a little bit more. Don't ever forget our caregivers who are there. I've watched Alex in person follow Ashley as she does not stop at a relay, and he reminds her, stop and get a drink of water, stop and take a break. I've got the kids. Just take a minute for yourself, Ashley. And she'll finally go, okay. But that's what it takes. It takes that strong commitment, and it gets our person that's had to hear those words, you have cancer, to the next part of their journey, so that they can end up on a calendar and be as beautiful as Ashley and Alex are. Thank you so very much for spending this time with us today and sharing your stories.
Thank you, Debbie. And to all of our survivors and caregivers out there that are listening, your story is so important. And I know it's one thing to speak as a survivor to other survivors, but as a survivor to our caregivers, I know caregivers. I know so many of them through the Voices of Hope program and all my years with Relay for Life and the American Cancer Society, and they always want to fade into the background because that is their role, is just that background support. And we just want you to know from the bottom of our hearts how much it means to us to have you there. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Good morning, all. My name is Sarah Thornburg, and I am a 41-year survivor of acute lymphocytic leukemia and a 5-time survivor of basal cell carcinoma, which is a type of skin cancer. I just wanted to come on this morning to share this poem I wrote for you all, and I truly hope it gives you hope. Hope is family and friends who help you up when you are down and feeling like you're drowning. Hope is encouragement, coming from friends, family, and even strangers alike. Hope is celebrating both the little victories and the big victories. Hope is now. Hope is a future. Hope is a future for all. Thank you so much. Have a great day.